Hello there again. This is another daily walk video. It is March 21st of 2025. Actually doing a second one of these, which I was a little surprised by. So I haven't really done 2 or 3 partners I feel like in quite a while now. I think I really did a lot of them it's like October, November, I think it was, and I kind of stopped doing it. Although I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Well, regardless. So really shoe. Okay. And unplug my. Oh, no, never mind. We're good now. Unplug my speaker thing here, but it didn't. Since there's a little end I have to have plugged into my computer here. I think it's a little warmer now, or maybe it's just less windy. So I don't feel like I need to zip this up or put my gloves on yet. Yeah, so weather's pretty nice right now. I didn't really want to talk about it necessarily too much, or not really too sure how to necessarily fully describe it, but just kind of give you all the general sort of idea, right? Has some random things sticking onto the back of my phone there. I guess it's on the ground. Like a little piece of dirt or something. Anyways, so yeah. So earlier on today, I don't think I talked about this earlier, but yeah. So today we had another cultural lunch event here. It was about Haiti, and so the 2 Haitian students that I forget if I think they're like exchange students. I think that's what it is. Super nice people. Right, pretty cool. And and so we got to learn a little bit more, about the island and a little bit of its history, and whatnot. I thought it was super cool. Very interesting. And we also had, I don't know what the names of it is. Also, I guess I don't know French. There's, that's a fact too. But right, so yes, we had some kind of, I think it was like brown rice and peas, some kind of like spicy chicken. Very well seasoned. Very, very good quality. Honestly, I would eat that way more frequently if they served it here. I would love it. It's great. And then so some veggies with it. Excuse me. And then I don't know what it was, but there's some kind of like was it like potato or plantain or something like that? Some kind of like, I don't honestly even know what it is. I want to say like it's comparable to some kind of like pasta or casserole or something. I genuinely do not know what it is, and I also, again, I don't speak French, so I have no idea what the word for it is. But whatever it was, all that, and then also we had a little bit of squash dessert thing. It was just, super simple. Just a little bit of it, but yeah, it was pretty nice, pretty good. I liked it, and yeah, one of the biggest things learned. So Haiti gained its independence on January 1st of 1804 from the French, and and then it's and so they've had I forget what the French name for it is, but they had the Freedom Soup, which is was like squash, plantain, some kind of other like veggies and meats and whatnot. It's we didn't have that, but from what I heard about it, and I looked it up even just a little bit not too long ago when I was eating dinner here, it looks pretty good. It's pretty good. I gotta try it sometime. And the history thing of that was, I believe it was so, they were not, before they gained their independence, they were not allowed to, the people living there, they were not allowed to, have that particular type of soup, right? Squash and all the other really nice stuff in it, right? And it's part of the whole thing the French did to sort of assert their, quote unquote superiority over them, right?
Well,
and and so what was it? They started when they gained their independence. They started having it, so yeah, kind of interesting little bit there. And then it used to be called Hispaniola, I think it was, under the Spanish Empire originally. But yeah, kind of interesting. I've I don't know if I remember everything, unfortunately, but I've found these cultural lunch opportunities, events they've had here, across many Fridays. Not all of them. They had a while for like a month or two where they didn't have them in like January and February, but glad they're doing them again. Really nice. I think it's a great way to expose students to a little bit about other places in the world without having to leave the comfort of the campus or anything like that. Right? Also get you get the voices of people who've actually lived in a certain place, or students who went there or something like that. So it makes it a lot more realistic, a little bit more immersive, right? And then sometimes they even have fun little activities. They actually had a Kahoot game with a whole bunch of, it was like 15, 20 questions or something. I got a few of them right. I didn't know most of them, although there was a handful that I just like fun small little facts that I got right. So that was kind of cool. Wish I had known more though. But yeah, unfortunately, there was a limit on how many people were able to join the game. So many people got in really fast, and I don't know. It was like a really small limit to the number. It was like 15 to 20 players, something. We had like 60, 70 people in there. I don't know. However many it was. It's a lot of people, right? And it's a shame not to join. But when I'm saying I got the questions right, well, the few ones that I did, I was just trying to follow along and trying to be like, let me think about what do I know? Try to guess, but I mean, I knew this already. I think I've kind of talked about it before. I don't think it's necessarily the one specific place in the world, or even necessarily anything. I don't think this is necessarily a personal thing per se, but it really is a shame because it's like we don't really get taught. We don't really get taught about other places here, right? Like, I mean, yeah, you might have, I mean, in college, maybe a little different, right? Because they, kind of a little bit more critical and there's a lot more options and whatnot. But, in high school and middle school and all that good stuff, I mean, I get maybe not going over every single detail about historical events with really young kids or middle schoolers because, sometimes they can be really immature about stuff or they don't really understand how to, properly respect or understand certain facts. I'm not saying that's the case for everyone by any means. It's not. Just, somehow some people act like that. Although I guess really, people of all ages act like that sometimes, so regardless. It's besides the point. But yeah, we don't really get taught about, the places are, like, I mean, the thing is, like, for example, there's many things I could say, take for example, but one of the ones that I felt like was really, kind of at least a little bit disturbing or concerning is learning about like how many different ways that the U.S. has intervened in, international affairs, right? And we just don't get taught these kind of things that are, that people of power in this country made these sort of decisions, right? I mean, I don't remember all the specific examples right off, but I know we've, meddled a lot in, the Middle East, meddled a lot in, Latin America, we meddled a lot in some places in Africa too, for starters, right? And, we've, supported and instilled dictatorships. We've, utilized, slave labor, right? Or extremely underpaid, service, with very poor working conditions, and other, and other places around the world. I mean, even today. And, it's, right now, I've known this stuff for a little longer because I've engaged with these sort of questions and thoughts mentally for, a while now, but at least like a year or two or something, right? But it doesn't mean that I, don't find these sort of things to be like, what's the words for it? Very disturbing, whatever the word is. You can use a whole vocabulary of it, right? Because it's like, well, I kind of realize, like, at the same time, though, like, I know that there's been a lot of armed conflicts in the world, right? I know, there's been all sorts of wars and, millions to billions of people have died and whatnot, and you really learn how, like, I know, at least, it's very tragic, and it's very, it's very, bad and wrong, but I don't think that I've really, most of the time, I don't think I've really fully comprehended that. Like, it's easy to just say that, for example, in, you know, XYZ specific war of whatever year, that, you know, so many hundreds, thousands, millions of people died. Okay, sure. Easy to say that. But saying that, for me, when I'm, you know, America with all of its problems aside, right? Even though I've talked about political climate or how things are kind of going downhill, or maybe some of my frustrations and whatnot. I mean, comparatively, I'm doing pretty well. Compared to, I live in, one of, if not the wealthiest, richest economies, countries of the modern age. And I don't know, I mean, that might very well change, China or maybe India or Germany or Russia or something like that might be the next big one, or might go back to one of them or something. But regardless of that situation, I mean, I don't really understand. I mean, because I've lived, I've had, I've had, my anxieties, have my worries, and they're all valid, and my experiences are all, understandable. But I mean, comparatively, my life's been pretty peaceful. And yeah, I've had things I've been really anxious about, whether, you're dealing with certain changes, like coming here to college, or, maybe trying some things when I was younger, or trying to be a little more social, or any of these sort of things. But like, these are all just like very, very insignificant. It's very, sort of, things I might worry about, very first world sort of problems that, I really, when I put into context to what millions to billions of other people on this planet have gone through, have experienced. I'm not saying that that's, not just perfect. I'm definitely not. I've, plenty of things I could, note about what's not right with its history, or, corruption or greed or anything, right? It's definitely has fair share of, not treating, minorities with respect, slavery, not giving, women the right to vote until really late, all sorts of, job description, job and school description, discrimination, internment of different citizens, and, acts to prohibit, the Chinese, and early, I forget exactly the 1800s, but sometime in the 1800s, it was like, the early 1800s, and then it was like, the 1840s, 50s, 60s, I don't know, something like that. Maybe I'm getting my facts completely mixed up here, but something along these lines. It's been a while since I've learned. So this was like 3 years ago, but what was it? I was saying with the these last few decades here, it was like specific discrimination against Italians and Germans from coming here. Or I could also talk about the Trail of Tears, and the brutal treatment of, Native Americans, or, the harsh, environment, to say the least, that, and social things that, many, Asians and, Latin Americans, had experienced in, what was it, I forget the exact years. I know, it's kind of... I feel sad that I'm not remembering this exactly when, but, you know, we had the whole Transcontinental Railroad, you know, trying to build that, right? I mean, you know, or the, you know, the gold rush, California gold rush, you know, or, I mean, I think there's so many different kind of things, right? But, I mean, you know, myself, as I am, my life right now, you know, comparatively, doing pretty well. Comparatively, you know, I'm doing well, and I don't think, maybe I think that honestly, I'm thinking now that I've been perhaps, I've been too critical towards myself or towards my, you know, myself for not knowing a lot more things, or maybe not understanding what, you know, not really fully understanding what, you know, the reality of life for many others is, or has been, or unfortunately might be in the future, right? You know, even as I speak and make this video, you know, and yeah, I'm not saying this to, you know, sort of think that, you know, whatever feelings that I have are, you know, insignificant or irrelevant, or, you know, any sort of other, you know, thoughts along the lines of, well, you know, whatever it is, with, you know, self-manipulation, while my, my, I forget what exactly the saying is, but something along the lines of, you know, why does my, you know, and I want you to understand this. I'm not saying this from the perspective. I'm not saying this in the perspective of self-pity, but I can certainly understand how it is. It is a sort of statement. It's not necessarily how I've always felt, but I mean, sometimes it can lead to that too, which is, it's really not a great thing. Nothing to be proud about there, but, you know, think of, well, you know, why should I be, you know, complaining or worrying or whatever? I mean, a lot of the people have it a lot worse than I do. And I don't think it's bad or wrong to recognize certain facts, right? I think it's very important, and I think it can help you have a lot more gratitude, have a lot more real understanding of like your actual life situation. It can give you perspective. That's the main thing, right? Ultimately, it just gives you more perspective and perhaps a little bit more gratitude for the things that you have, or people that you have, opportunities that you got, getting to do or get or have certain things or relationships, you know, or experiences that you know are very hard for many others. And you know, I think one thing that I find, you know, well, I would say tragic, but I feel like that's sort of implying, like, you know, I feel like that's, at least the way I think about that, it's more of like a very past-oriented, like, for like a story of something that's ended, which is not how I'm feeling, right? I still think, you know, I still think that this country can, you know, turn its back around. And I think there's really a lot that would really have to happen in order for it to get, you know, as bad as a lot of other places in the world. But, you know, in a lot of aspects. But I do feel like we genuinely, even if I'm just ignoring everything else, I feel like we're just, you know, we genuinely don't like. I feel like I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe I'm sorely misunderstanding something. But I feel like, at least in my experience, that like the average, or the normal American person, very nice, helpful, moderately sociable, willing to help you out if you need to, but generally does not know all that much about the world outside of the U.S. Right? Maybe unless they are, a veteran, or if they, are very well educated, or if, they've studied abroad, or if they've had, big vacations or something, right? I mean, right, generally, I don't think that a lot of people do, and I think that it's really sad, and I'm saying this because I'm not focusing entirely on the whole, sort of self-centeredness or arrogance that I feel like, there's a lot of people, far from everyone, but a lot of people here can have, or I should say like develop, or a sort of attitude that we're sort of socialized into having, right? But I feel like it's sad because we miss out on so much. We miss out on truly understanding and being able to, I feel like perhaps sometimes, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but maybe support, maybe, make people from abroad when they want to come here, for whatever reason it may be, feel like they're valued, or that they are, important if they're not, if they're not a, rich, or maybe middle class, white person, right? Right, probably more so, Christian, heterosexual, cisgender, right? More clarifiers and all that. And, I mean, I'm not feeling like stressed, or like anxious, or like, whatever the words are, whatever the feelings are, like maybe I did earlier, or that, the whole sort of, focus I've really had on these questions about, where do I want to live, or, what does nationality mean, or anything like that, right? But I do feel concerned. I do feel worried. I mean, I'm also, I should say this because this is not an entirely negative video by any means. I don't want that to say. I mean, the weather is really nice. Honestly, I'm kind of just grateful that I'm kind of just getting to just walk around outside like this and just talk about stuff in front of my phone, for a bit. I mean, I have the freedom to do that, right? I really, talking about this stuff, makes you be like, well, I have a lot of things, actually. I mean, I have my phone, I have nice clothes, people are here, pretty nice, pretty helpful. I get nice food most days, right? I have good roommate, a comfortable bed, heating and air conditioning, and, I have a, a loving, supportive family back at home, which is, pretty close to here, right? I get time to myself. I get time to play games. I get time to make more videos. I mean, just the list goes on. I mean, I have Really a lot of things. And I don't think that gratitude in a sense is, is only found, really loud truck there, or the gratitude is only found or recognized when you have reality checks or compare your situation to other people's across the world, right? I don't think that's the only way you can do it. I mean, it's a very particular way of doing it, perhaps a very effective manner, right? But there's ways you can do it without. You can do it. You can do it with ways where you don't feel guilty. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you don't necessarily feel guilty, like I have, at least maybe a little bit sometimes, right? But I mean, sometimes you can even just think of the thing of, well, you can just think about, I mean, you compare your life to your own. You could say, well, I mean, maybe if, circumstances have changed a lot for you in your life, you can kind of look like, I mean, I don't want to promote that too much because I know that, it's not necessarily always the best idea because, depression or, especially struggling with, certain, economic, familial, financial sort of issues, right? And it's really easy for me to just say because, I mean, my life's not perfect. I don't have everything, but I have so many things going well for me. It's just easy for me to just say something like that and not really, I don't know, maybe not really quite get how impactful, how really important that is for many others, and I think, it is, I mean, again, I know that I'm privileged and I'm not using that as an excuse, right? But, it does just make me feel, things like what I've just been talking about here for like the last, 25-30 minutes or so, something like that, right? Of, you just realize, I mean, there's a lot of really bad things in this world. A lot of bad people, a lot of people who've done horrendous things. And I don't mean that to make anyone watching this video feel pessimistic or like, we're all doomed or nihilistic or anything, because I don't think that's the full picture in itself. I mean, I think sometimes, I know for myself, plenty of times, I've significantly over-focused on the negative. I've just, ignored or downplayed positive or whatever, or I just didn't really, or, so I just simply didn't think of it, right? But, I mean, there's a lot of good things too. There's a lot of, not only can I say, there's things to be grateful for, although it's definitely a very, very big part of it. Something I think a lot of us, especially, privileged individuals like myself, should, recognize, practice very frequently, right? But, sometimes really good things can happen. Sometimes, you just get really lucky and, things go your way. And I'm not saying, go out and, like just try to, take your chances at the casino or something, or, develop a, I forget the word is, but, develop a, a bad habit for, you know, I can't remember what the word is. Bad habit for, trying to make a lot of money on really, really risky, very questionable sort of means. I just say with the casinos, betting. That's what it is. Yeah. Don't go out betting your money on everything, or gambling. That was the word for it. Yeah. Don't. I don't really recommend anyone start a gambling addiction. At all, ever. But point being that, for example, weather can be really nice, or people might do really nice things. Might experience some kind of level of charity, or you might be able to, I don't know, get the opportunity to do something really fun, with friends, family, whoever, right? Something by yourself, maybe, if that's your kind of thing. Well, regardless, a lot of good things can happen. Not everything in the world or reality is bad. And I don't think that we should think that way either necessarily. And I recognize, especially even for, really, I could say it really for anyone, but even especially for people like myself who really like to try to, think things through, it can be hard to be objective. It can be hard to, evaluate, sort of positive, negative, plus, minus, pro, con on, sort of very quote unquote, rational terms, or, equal stances or whatever. Because, we're all human. We all, have feelings. Our experience of reality is subjective. And our values, our cultures, our histories, our past experiences, all sorts of things shape us. I don't think there's anything to necessarily be ashamed about, right? I don't think we should be ashamed about the fact that, we have all sorts of complicated feelings a lot of the time, and that we don't know everything. That's just part of life, and sometimes not knowing can be helpful. I'm not saying that as to, for blissful ignorance. That's not what I'm promoting, but, right, sometimes, what I'm saying is, sometimes, part of the enjoyment or satisfaction in life is coming to learn things gradually or across your lifetime, or getting to experience all sorts of things, or to, sometimes, I know for myself, I'm Christian, right? I can feel better by taking a little solace in the fact that, ultimately, regardless of whatever happens, and differences, politically, socially, personal finances, whatever, pick whatever you want, right? That ultimately, my life is in God's hands, and I can trust in Him. I can trust that, He's going somewhere with all this, all the crazy things going on in the world, because, that's what, that's what I believe to be true. That's what I can rely on, and that's, who, my spirit, my soul, in their hands. So, I don't know, whatever your version of your belief system is, if you're Christian, if you're, if you're Muslim, if you're Jewish, if you're Sikh, if you're, atheist, Gnostic, Buddhist, Hindu, whatever suits your, whatever you believe in, whatever the equivalent version thing would be for you. So, it's still kind of nice. I think it's starting to get a little bit colder again. Although I don't know, maybe it just immediately because I was kind of staying in the shadows there. Yeah, it feels a little better already. Anyways, I think I made my points clear enough on this stuff. And for anyone who's managed to stick around this long for the entire thing, I appreciate it. I really do. I know my videos can, well, okay, well, I'm just going to say very frequently are quite long. But yeah, I appreciate if you managed to stick through this far. It's really nice to know there's people who are willing to do that, even just relatively few, a small percent of my audience, right? At least a few people, right? At least it's something. And yeah, so yep. And if you've liked this video, resonated with anything I've said, or anything else I've said or done, or you just like any of my Minecraft content, you just want to see more stuff like that, or see me try different things in the future, whatever, right? If you're excited to see what my adventure in Sydney, Australia will look like later this year, feel free to, like the video, subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to reach 100 subscribers before Easter. Currently at 69, so I think everyone who's helped me achieve that goal so far. And yeah, I'll say that's about it, but one last thing here. So earlier on today, I already thought of this a while back, but one of the first few things, the very first few things I thought of, but regardless of whatever number it was, I don't even know. I was thinking about time zone difference between, here in, Kentucky, where my college is at, where my home is currently, and Sydney in, New South Wales and Australia, right? And apparently it's a 15-hour difference. So I was like, wait, so, okay. So say if I'm if I want to ask my parents how their day was, or text them that I hope they have a good day, when would I do that? Right? So I think it was basically, saying, for example, if it's afternoon here, it's like morning there. It's not opposite time of day because it's 15-hour difference, right? It's not 12-hour difference, right? Or anything like that. But it's 15, so it's a few hours more. But right. Not exactly opposite time of the day, but yeah, so I was like, wait, okay, so if that were to be the case, right, so then what would you assume that what I would say, okay, so if it was, I guess I would say if it's afternoon for me there, it's going to be nighttime here, so I guess about the time I'd eat lunch, or something like that. What could it be? I just think, well, so if it's 12 there, then it would be like, what time would that be here? Like 3? Well, oh, is that right? Because 12 hours and then 3 more. I guess it. Wait. Well, it's sorry. Okay, let me just use time it was earlier when I looked this up. So it was like, I'll just round up a few minutes. Let's say it was 2:45. All right, so it's 2:45 p.m. or afternoon here, and then that's like whatever minute did I say? I literally just forgot. 20:25. Yeah, 5:25 in the morning or a.m. there. So okay, so if we use that, then we say, well, okay, so okay, so I would say, all right, so let's say that, okay, so if I say 10 there, 10 in the morning there, okay, so that's 5 hours more, and then 5 hours more here, it'd be 7, okay, yeah, well, maybe, I don't know, that might be early, might be late, I don't know, I guess I could say anywhere from like 8 to 10 in the morning there to what, like 5, which would be 5 to 7 here in the afternoon, and then I'd ask my parents how their day was, even though I'd be starting my day. Yeah, pretty much. So weird, but yeah. Hopefully, you didn't mind me trying to understand the different. Yeah. So yeah, you understand the difference there. Time zone is weird. I was getting confused. Especially we have the weird. Is it just the U.S. that does the what you would call it, like, it's like the time jumps, or like the time change or switch or whatever it is. They do it everywhere except in what is it? Some or most of like Arizona or Nevada or something. Yeah, where we jump ahead an hour one part of the year, and then, you know, like 4 months, 5, 6 months later, we switch it back, go back an hour or something. Is it just the U.S.? I think it is. I think it's just the U.S. who does that. I don't know if that will have any sort of factor in it, but regardless, it's only an hour, give or take, more or less. On top of that, if, you know, we even continue to, I don't know. I've heard some discussion that we might discontinue the time change thing because people are kind of just tired of it now, but I don't know. I genuinely do not know. I don't think that's really, anyone's top priority or concern. Oh, will I have to, I'm tired of, changing what time I wake up, sort of, every, 6 months. How dare you, government? Yeah, I don't, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think anyone really, I don't think anyone really cares that much to that level, comparatively to other issues. It's not anywhere as significant, or it's life-changing or anything like that. But anyways, let me actually end off the video here. It's almost like 50 minutes long. Plenty long enough. I don't know, weather's still really nice out here. I don't know, I'd like you to come back out and doing some more stuff. Honestly, I don't even know if I'm going to do any or that much of the homework stuff tonight. I might do some of it, but I honestly don't know. I really feel like it would make it even more fantastic if it was like a 4 or 5 day weekend. It's not, just say that, but fortunately, I know. But, yeah. Anyways, guess I'm gonna go in now for reals. Yeah, and I mean, I already said the whole like, subscribe thing, but you know, that again, in case you need the reminder for if you haven't done that already, if you wanted to. No pressure though. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next video. Hope you have a good time, day, night, whatever it is for you. Hopefully you all understand time zones better than I do. And it was easier for you to mentally calculate if you were trying to follow along there, but I don't know, probably not. I don't know. Anyhow, regardless. And yeah, see you next video. And peace out and good time.